What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with another Destiny 2 video. This one is going to be focused on the October updates that we're getting in the first half of October, kicking off with the launch of the exotic mission on the 7th of October, and of course, in the same week we'll also get the Arms Week event, but we have one of the more significant sets of changes between the updates that we'll get on October 7th and October 14th, so I figured some folks may want a bit of a roundup of what to expect. And so as always, I hope you guys find the video helpful. If you do, hit subscribe and the bell notification down below. That way you won't miss out on any Destiny content, but otherwise, let's get into it. Firstly, in terms of content that we'll get access to from October 7th, there's the new exotic mission, Heliostat, which will reward us with the exotic axe, Wolfsbane. We've spoken about this a couple of times, so we won't go into all perks and things like that, but as always with exotic mission rewards, there will be various upgrades that we can get, probably week over week, as well as additional drops, like emblems and things like that. So, given that it was one of the highlights for Ash and Iron, but obviously is dropping nearly a month later, it will be nice to finally jump in, and I think even folks who aren't playing a significant amount right now will probably head in to at least initially pick up the weapons. So that's the first thing. Otherwise, Arms Week will go live, which is also from October 7th. So it's another opportunity, this time to earn the Trachinus shotgun, which has moved from heavy metal to an Arms Week reward. It also gets a new holofoil skin or general skin for the weapon, but otherwise, as far as I understand it, retains the same roles. So an opportunity for a cosmetic variation or a better opportunity to farm if you didn't play when heavy metal was around. In terms of the patch though, for October 7th, this is update 9.15. It's one of the more significant sandbox updates that we've had since Edge of Fate. There will also be additional power changes and reward updates. I'm sure some of them will come on October 7th, others will actually drop the following week on the 14th. So a bit fragmented here, but we'll start with the updates for October 7th. And sandbox-wise, firstly on the weapon side, Bungie have said, in PvP, for players who are not leaning into ammo generation, they have increased the special ammo meter gains at no to low investment for primary ammo weapon final blows by around 33%, so there should certainly be more ammo readily available. Then, on the finite impactor, they're buffing a bunch of stats, so the range is being increased from 36 to 46, handling from 45 to 55, and reload speed from 40 to 50, so finite impactor's gonna feel better. They're also adjusting spreadshot hand cannons where they're increasing the bonus damage versus enemies from 8% to 15%, so that's nice for PvE, but they're also reducing range by 5% and spread is being increased by 10%, which are stat changes largely focused on making them a bit less potent in PvP. Otherwise, for heavy burst sidearms, Bungie say they're a bit strong at the minute, so they're reducing base damage, with body shot damage going from 33 to 31, and critical hit damage going from 52.8 to 49.6, so relatively minor changes with regards to weapons. Looking a bit more though on the ability side of things, Bungie have some adjustments to Warlocks. So firstly, they say there will be a new passive trait which grants a 10% bonus to passive grenade energy regeneration and a 5% additive bonus to grenade damage. Although that secondary one will have its benefit halved in PvP, which is understandable. Otherwise, they say the following Warlock constructs now count as grenades for stats and perks. So it includes Ionic Sentry, Helion, Bleak Watcher, Child of the Old Gods, and Arc Soul. Otherwise, for general tuning for Warlocks, on Void, Chaos Accelerant now grants 2 grenade charges, which is nice, and on the Scatter Grenade, the charged grenade now grants 4 more Seekers. They've also increased the charged Seeker damage versus combatants by 25%, and improved its tracking as well as its lifetime, so Scatter Grenades should be feeling pretty good next week, hopefully. Otherwise, on Axiom Bolt, the charged grenade now detonates twice. They've also increased the charged projectile damage by 25% again versus PvE enemies, but they also reduced the projectile speed when tracking enemy players by 40%, so should be far stronger in PvE and less obnoxious in PvP. Then for the Vortex Grenade, it now repeatedly pulls enemies into it when charged, with the pull against players reducing over time. On Spike Grenade, it now charges into handheld Supernova, plus the same can be done with Suppressors and Void Wall Grenades. Otherwise, for Stasis and Glacial Harvest, Stasis Shard creation no longer has a cooldown in PvE. So those are the Warlock changes. Of course, a lot of them focusing on Void. The passive trait sounds alright, and no doubt Bungie will have additional Warlock stuff in the near future. But for October 7th Titan changes, on Stasis Howl of the Storm, it now grants 2 melee charges, which is good. They've also changed Stasis Crystal spawn pattern and added 4 more crystals. which now slow enemy players instead of freezing them. So again, following the theme of stronger in PvE and less obnoxious in PvP, otherwise on Cryoclasm, they've increased the fragment slots from 2 to 3 and reduced the long slide cooldown from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. Otherwise on Tectonic Harvest, Stasis Shard creation no longer has a cooldown in PvE. So some generally good ones for Stasis there. Otherwise on Void for Unbreakable, safe to say Void Titan needs a bit of love. They're reducing the grenade energy drain speed when holding shield. They've also reduced the forward movement slowdown when the shield is hit by an attack, increased fragment slots from 2 to 3, and Blast now disorients enemies for a short time. On Bastion though, it no longer increases cooldown time in PvE, so less of a negative effect there. And again, outside of Stasis, a bit of a focus for Void Titans. But finally for Hunters, they also get a new passive trait like the Warlock, so it increases passive movement speed bonus, which is now equivalent to the old tier 10 mobility. That's good. Otherwise, they're increasing Hunter sprint speed at default from 8 meters per second to 8.6 meters per second. And Hunters will have a 10% bonus to weapon equip speed, so that will affect Hunters overall, but for Marksman's Dodge, it now picks up nearby ammo bricks on activation and reloads all weapons on activation. So that's a pretty good change, and when it comes to Strand Suspending Slam, no longer increases the cooldown duration after use, but suspending enemies with Suspending Slam now gives Woven Mail, and the duration scales with the number of enemies suspended. So the Woven Mail change could be pretty strong, and on Threaded Spectre, they've increased the fragment slots from 2 to 3. But finally for Solar, on your mark, they've rescaled the stack count to a maximum of 10 stacks. Precision hits will give 1 stack, precision final blows give 2, and final blows at 10 stacks cure the player, although that is a trade-off against Radiant because precision final blows will no longer grant it. Additionally, stacks of on your mark will now give weapon stats, so the maximum is 50 weapon stat at 10 stacks, but it still grants the previous reload benefit. Then on Deadshot Golden Gun, it refunds ammo on Golden Gun final blows instead of ignitions, and extends super duration on final blows, and energy diminishes with final blows as well, although the gains for that have been reduced in PvP. Finally though, also a stasis change for Grim Harvest, and Stasis Shard creation no longer has a cooldown in PvE, so funnily enough, Hunters doing relatively well out of this series of changes. And again, all of these will land on October 7th. So give us your thoughts about those, but as we move to October 14th, we'll get another patch, which is update 9151. And these changes focus on portal and power progression, so almost every grade for each power range is getting their drops improved. And on the most part, looking at the chart here, you'll notice that nearly across the board, every drop will be buffed by +1, so something that granted +2 power generally will grant +3. But they do know that grades at or below B, C+, and C will not grant powerful rewards on Ultimate, Grandmaster, and Master difficulty respectively. One of the big changes that will come alongside this though, because that's kind of another small step, but bonus engrams on the portal will give scored rewards, so that essentially means the extra bonus engram rewards we get on top of completion prizes will now have the same power as engrams from the chest. How good these extra rewards will be will depend on your grade, so activities with bonus engrams will always give you the chance to earn more powerful rewards that progress your power level further than before. And after Bungie bringing this up previously and the community discussing it a lot too, this may be an even bigger change in terms of general progression than the additional +1 again on all the powerful drops. So it will certainly be worth focusing on activities that have bonus rewards, as all of them will drop at the same level as whatever you get as your primary reward from the chest. That will also be big moving forward, assuming that Bungie keep it for Renegades. I think the indication is that they will. So let me know your thoughts. One of the areas where there's been a bit more feedback from players are Bungie's adjustments to power deltas. So they say they are simplifying modifier selection when playing portal activities, and challenge modifiers will no longer adjust your activity combatant delta by -10 or 20. Instead, they'll only increase your projected score and add the described effect to the game. So difficulty delta caps will basically be set for advanced, expert, master, grandmaster, and ultimate difficulties. And the new deltas look like this, so at advanced it's going to be -10, expert -15, master -20, GM is -25, and ultimate at -30, which has led to feedback that players may have to play at bigger deltas than what they have, previously in recent times with the current modifier setup if they want to achieve a tier 5 reward, for example. Of course, you can still get tier 5 drops on Grandmaster difficulty if you're over 450 power, where the delta would be -25. The only time will be at -30 will be on ultimate difficulty, so kind of hard to get a sense of it on paper, to be honest, because with the kind of scoring changes, the adjustments to the modifiers, it's possible you might be able to throw on more positive modifiers in combination with the negatives and, still achieve the kind of score that you want to get a tier 4 or 5 drop. So I understand the concerns, but we will see exactly how they actually feel when they get in the game next week. But for folks who are at lower power levels, or essentially anything below 300 power, Bungie are also adding a catch-up chest when we get update 9151 in mid-October as well. So for any folks who haven't played for a little while, whether it's from before Edge of Fate or very early on in Edge of Fate, this chest will be available with a set of portal gear at power level 300. Bungie say there'll also be an amount of unstable cores, and for players who are above that power level, you'll get a powerful upgrade instead. So some free loot right there, which will be most beneficial for players who are much further down in the power climb right now. But if you've wanted to come back to check out the exotic mission, or for Festival of the Lost, which will be in the back end of October, then it might be a useful little catch up for the moment. So again, there's some new content dropping on the 7th. We'll get those sandbox changes. Then the following week, after the exotic mission and arms week and stuff, we'll get these additional progression changes. So that's the first half of October, and immediately after that, the following reset, we go into Festival of the Lost, I believe. So safe to say everything will not be perfect, I'm sure, but week over week, there'll certainly be some things to check out. Some of it, like the exotic mission or the new activity in Festival, will be pretty interesting, and I think other stuff will be a mixed bag of interest from players, whether you're bothered about the power climb as it stands right now, the catch-up side, or any of the sandbox tuning. But Bungie are doing stuff, which is certainly better than not doing stuff. We will, of course, though, see how it plays out next week. So for the moment, give us your thoughts in the comments section, any particular changes you're looking forward to, or indeed any of the new content, let us know down below. If you found this catch-up video helpful though, a rating really does help us out on the channel, and also be sure to get subscribed so I can keep you up to date. Otherwise though, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.